Pyotr Ilyich sighed heavily. The dream that turned out to be so close again moved away. It seemed, here it is, you just have to stretch out your hand to the iridescent mother-of-pearl paint, but no, the distance was again too great. The only thing the old man could please his beloved was melting like a haze. All expensive salons are similar to each other, as if they were cloned. Designers seem not to bother too much when dealing with the interior of huge rooms. Bright halls with floor-to-ceiling windows, bright light that emphasized luxury and let in the sun's rays. It was they who, reflected in the hoods of foreign cars, created glare that attracts the eye like a magnet. White marble on the floor, discreet walls and ceiling. All so that nothing distracts from the most important. And important here were cars of different colors and models, horsepower and capabilities. United them only one thing, the price tags. The number of zeros on a small piece of paper indicated the special status of the salon. Not everyone could afford to buy here, so the managers did not worry about the lack of customers. Only a couple of people completely closed the cash register for a month with a vengeance, compensating for maintenance costs. They were a match for the cold hall in their snow-white shirts, corporate ties, and with smiles on duty. They automatically identified potential customers with one glance. All the rest of the time they were the most ordinary people, for some reason listing themselves as a special caste. And now, 3 well-trained employees were lazily talking to each other while whiling away working hours. The girl administrator performed the function of decoration. Who wouldn't like being served by a model-looking beauty? Much was not required of her if she wanted her coffee or tea, to show or write a check, but Marina categorically did not fit into the template. Career threatened to fall apart like a house of cards. Either they winked at the rich buyer, then they ignored the rude hint of special service. The girl was not used to adapting to her anyway. I sincerely believed that people should be judged not by their appearance, but by their inner content. And among the clients of the salon, no one could boast of a rich inner world. In her free time, Marina did not wash the bones and did not participate in discussing the lives of others. Managers did this. Despite the male gender indicated in their documents, the guys were not much different from the bazaar women. Who meets with whom, who succeeded how, and most importantly, in what way, everything that interested them. On that day, no one looked into the salon. The guys relaxed. It just so happened that transactions occurred in the second half of the month, and in the first days there was always a lull. Therefore, when the melodic chime of the bell sounded, at the entrance the conversations instantly subsided and silence hung, and after a couple of seconds the managers exhaled. We could continue discussing the topic of appointing a new CEO. And how did he manage to grab such a position? Someone can be a protégé. On the threshold of the hall stood a poorly dressed elderly man, rather an old man. Shoulders, drooping jacket in a 100-year-old briefcase, shabby in hand. The managers made it clear that he was wrong. Perhaps he mistook a bright building for a supermarket, or maybe because of Social Security. After all, it seems that pensioners go there all the time. In any case, definitely not a car dealership of expensive foreign cars. Like this one, even an old Ziguli will not have enough money. What to say about luxury Lexus? Now the child will realize that he was in the wrong place, and will leave. Marina took a step towards the old man first. She was the only one in this room who did not have the idea to call security, which an elderly person could do badly. Perhaps it was his lifelong dream, such a car, so why not look at them now? Meanwhile, the old man shuffled towards her, put an old briefcase near the counter and turned to the girl. "Can I look around a bit?" Marina smiled. It was not a mask on duty. She liked this old man, very polite and kind. There was something in him reminiscent of her grandfather, who died when she was still a child. "You come and see everything you want. If you need my help, I will be there." The old man walked towards the bright red car. It seems he did not choose, but was simply looking for something specific. Managers followed. One of the guys casually blinked at the guard. Who knows what the grandfather will take in his mind and scratch the enamel, or something else he will think up. You have to be on the lookout. And the old man, as if not noticing the commotion around, slowly walked around the car and opened the driver's door, looked inside and tried to sit down. He was stopped by a security guard. This cannot be done. The car was booked, a deposit was made for it, so it can be said that it was sold. Grandfather sighed and carefully closed the door, took out glasses in a plastic frame from the pocket of an old jacket. She went to the price tag. What is so expensive? He barely whispered because quite recently the price was much lower. The managers looked at each other. Some strange old man was aware of the prices. Yes, it was cheaper, because all the prices have risen, and quite seriously. Pyotr Ilyich was upset and shrugged his shoulders. This amount was very different from the one they saw with their wife. Well, apparently, he was not destined to please Anechka. The old man came out of the hall very slowly, his shoulders hunched even more, and his head drooped. He was so immersed in himself that he did not even notice that his briefcase remained standing on the white marble near the reception desk. Meanwhile, a brown briefcase with an old-style lock caused a panic, and suddenly the goal of the strange grandfather was not at all to see the car. Suddenly there was explosives inside and he was a terrorist. While the guys crowded away from the dangerous object, and the guard decided what to do. Marina calmly picked up the forgotten briefcase and quickly went to the exit with her heels. Grandpa, wait, did you forget something? Pyotr Ilyich did not immediately understand what she meant. And when he realized, he slapped his forehead. Here I am, a bum, so upset that prices have risen, and I forgot to think about it. Did you really look at the car? She wondered. The old man told a very sad story. He and his wife are both former teachers. They gave their whole life to the institute. God did not give his children, but they had a bunch of grateful students. After retiring, they began to think more and more often that life had almost passed, and that they had nothing to remember besides work. Then Anechka came up with his idea, and whether to spit on all the conventions and whether to spend the rest of her life as she always wanted to. The two of them don't need a big apartment, only they decided to give money for a communal apartment. It was decided to sell it and buy a modest housing, and spend the difference in money on travel. Buy a car and go wherever your eyes look. Somehow, when they were returning from a walk, they came across this car dealership and my wife's eyes lit up. She liked the car standing in the hall so much that all the next days she only talked about how the two of them would ride on it. While they were selling their housing, while they were looking for another, time passed. Anya did not feel well. She had to go to the hospital, and there the tests showed the cause of the ailment. The diagnosis was checked several times. The doctors shrugged. Part of the savings went to treatment. Pyotr Ilyich did not want to believe that the stage was too serious and demanded to try everything that could help, but it did not help. The wife quietly faded away. Then the doctor, averting his guilty eyes to the side, advised not to waste time, energy, or money. It is better to spend the days that she has left at home. Be happy together with what you have. He will prescribe medications that will help you not feel pain. So be it, even if only for a short time, but she will be happy. Did not tell her anything, and went to the salon. And then you see, the prices have risen, the last joy, and then I won't be able to deliver my Anyuta. The old man's voice trembled. With stiff fingers he hardly opened the lock of the briefcase. In tight bundles, there was a lot of money inside, but, according to him, it didn't reach the new price, and he had no other savings. He didn't want another car. My wife dreamed of this one. Thank you, daughter, for listening to this, and run. It's time for you to return to your workplace. And he walked away, leaving Marina in a stupor. She had no plan, but for some reason she decided to catch up with him. Wait, Pyotr Ilyich, you know what, leave me your address. Maybe I can persuade the management offhand. Of course, she could not ask for such a discount, but she herself dreamed of a car, she dreamed of saving from every salary. She was still very far from the purchase, and suddenly the girl decided that if not hers, then at least someone's dream would come true. In the evening of the same day, she drank tea in the kitchen of the former teachers. Incredibly nice people struck with kindness and warmth, leaving already in the corridor so that Anna Stepanovna did not see. Marina handed the envelope to the old man, that should be enough. So come tomorrow, and while he was trying to understand what was happening, the girl quickly jumped out of the apartment. The reappearance of the old man caused bewilderment. He came again and again to the same car. But the manager who went to him was no less surprised. The conversation was not heard, but the guy was clearly fawning and opening the car, inviting them to sit inside. Everything cleared up when they approached the bank window and thick bundles of banknotes began to appear from the portfolio of the age of the owner himself. Who would have thought that the manager who made the purchase was lucky, he would cut off such a commission. Grandfather drove out of the salon with shining eyes and glanced at Marina. With a slight nod in farewell, he stepped on the gas quite sharply, leaving the saloon staff to whistle. A week has passed. The conversation subsided, more burning topics for discussion appeared. Marina still did not participate in the conversations, so she was surprised when she was called into the hall. She was just doing reports in a distant office, when the manager who placed the order for Pyotr Ilyich knocked. Marina Igorevna, that grandfather came there, asks to call you, he didn't say why he said, he just wants to see. Marina hurried and at first glance she understood what had happened. It was not necessary to have a special gift to guess that the irreparable had happened. Pyotr Ilyich confirmed the guess, his Anya was gone, but he managed to surprise her. They were able to ride and the wife was so happy that they could go to the sea this summer. It seemed to him that his wife even felt better, although the doctor said that this happens. The old man put a keychain with keys on the counter. Marina, you gave me and my wife a few days of happiness. Anina's dream came true only thanks to you. I know she would love to, so now it's your car. I don't need such an expensive car, and where to drive it alone is all that I wanted to give my beloved wife a few happy days. The hall was so quiet that there was a feeling of unreality of what was happening. Somewhere the coyness of managers disappeared, and the guard desperately tried to pull out an invisible mote from his eye, and Marina silently held the old man by the trembling hand. There was nothing to say to her, no words of consolation could take away the pain of loss, so everyone was silent. From that day on, Marinam came to the old man very often. In the evenings he showed old photos, she took him to the cemetery or just for a walk in the park. He was an interesting conversationalist and a very talented teacher. Even years later, he and his wife were never forgotten by the grave. A young woman in an expensive car came to them very often, each time bringing fresh flowers and thinking about something for a long time, and sometimes posting photos, as if sharing her impressions of the places she had visited.